right, check, sound check. Can everybody hear okay? Are we good? Can everybody hear okay? Look on the screen, see if, can everybody hear okay? Not very loud.
Keep talking.
Check. 1, 2, check. Check.
That's all the way.
All right, I think we're just gonna have to unplug the audio. All right. How's that? Any better? We might have to just go to the phone. Any better?
Hi, Brian.
All
Yes.
right. Huh?
Still on. They say that's better.
Okay, you're not gonna need your headphones in.
Can I turn off the...
Yes, you can turn all that off.
Good thing we don't got everything.
Right? All right, how many people we got on there? Enough?
30.
Do we care?
30.
All right, everybody. I know, finally, I suck. You can call me names, whatever you want. I'm used to it. Anyway, this is going to be a Facebook Live about line tuning. And so, before we get started on the actual line tuning process, and look, this is not some, once I'm done explaining this, it's going to make a lot of sense, but it's not some super duper uber technical thing. It's just something that I stumbled onto about 10 years ago. Actually, I was trying to verify a mark at Reading at 100 yards. And so what I did is for some reason, I just couldn't aim at the dot, probably because I suck. And so I started aiming at the top of the cardboard, and I was breaking good shots, but my groups just weren't tight. So that's kind of how I stumbled onto line tuning. So, wait for Kathy to finish folding up her paper there. So you want a bag of Doritos or anything, babe, or are you good?
Soda.
Okay. So basically, what I'm going to go over first is kind of the basic tune to get started. Line tuning is the micro of the micro tuning. It's more minute tuning than bare shaft tuning. Obviously, you have paper tuning, that's macro, just my opinion, of course. Macro tuning. Then you have bare shaft tuning, which is micro tuning. Well, line tuning is even a step above that. So, as far as your equipment goes, you're going to obviously, want to have your bow somewhat tuned already. Not saying you have to have the most perfect of everything, but make sure that your cam alignment's good. Make sure you have it. If you're a paper tuning guy, make sure you have a good paper tear. Shoot a bare shaft at 20 yards regardless, and I will explain here in a minute why that is. Having your initial bare shaft tune is going to be somewhat critical because this is simply a frame of reference. So make sure your sight is leveled. Brian Severn, if you're watching. Make sure your sight's leveled. Make sure that your stabilizer system is set, because line tuning is going to take place at your maximum comfortable distance. I do all my line tuning at 100 yards. If you do line tuning below 50, you're really not going to get the benefits of it. You're not shooting at an animal. This is strictly a tuning thing. So if your max distance for comfort is 80 yards, then from 80 to 100 you're going to be fine. But this is all about executing good shots and identifying shots that aren't as good. And I'll go through that as well. So Obviously, you can check out some of my other videos, but make sure your camling's good. Make sure you got a pretty decent tune on the bow. And then basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to at least come close to a bare shaft tune. And the reason that I'm not doing this outside is, number one, it would be 3 hours long. Number two, cell phone service at my house sucks. And number three, I would need a whiteout board anyway. So I just decided there's no reason for me to be outside shooting this. We can just come in here. I'm at AAE's facility, of course. And so I did find one of the most non-bow useful things for the last chance easy press you could ever imagine. It's holding up this squeezer down, and it's holding in this whiteboard pretty decent. So once you have a pretty basic tune on your bow, a bare shaft tune, that's where we're going to start. There are a lot of archers out there that bare shaft tune to the middle and they're done. That's cool. You're more than welcome to do that. That is where I go to with the bare shaft, but after that, I step outside and line tune, and there are changes. So, assuming you have a basic tune, this is a fairly advanced thing. You're not just going to set up a bow, shoot a bullet hole through paper, and run outside and line tune, because the process would take a lot longer at that point. So this is fairly advanced. But what we're going to do is, let's say for instance that this is our dot. This is our dot, and you can do this at 20 or 25 yards, and then we're going to make a little X. So that's our X in the middle of the dot. And so we're going to bare shaft tune until you at least get relatively close. This can represent the 10 on a Vegas spot. This can represent the X on a 5 spot. It's just a dot. It doesn't matter what it is. So you shoot a regular shaft, you shoot a flet shaft, hits right in the middle. Now you pick 20 or 25 yards, doesn't really matter. Your fletched arrow hits right in the middle, bare shaft tune until those arrows are fairly close. So for me, I'll start out with a flet shaft in the middle, and my bare shaft will generally be right on it. They will be touching. So make it
Bigger.
all right. Hold on. You're right, it looks big to me, but guess what? It's probably tiny to you guys.
Yes. There's a white rag right there.
Well, I got a eraser deal. Whatever. Good call, guys. I wasn't even thinking about that. Jesus, it's right here. It's a good thing it wasn't a snake. It would have bit me and you'd have watched me die right here on this live feed. Okay, so this is going to represent your dot. So this circle, just so you guys, can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so this dot is going to represent either Indoor Nationals, a 5-spot X, or your Vegas 10, either one. So when I start to bare shaft tune, and obviously I've put out lots of videos on bare shaft tune, you can go check those out or whatever. I'll probably do some more of those throughout the winter here. When I'll start off with my flet shaft hitting the middle, and I will tune with a bare shaft until my bare shaft is right on that arrow. Like literally, they will both be touching. For me, that's my 0 point. That's certainly not where I end up when I'm done. That's just where I start. That's where I step outside and start to line tune. And the reason for this is reference. Some archers will tune, and look, this has many variations. The type of cams, spine of your arrow. It's all the tunability factor of it. What your grip is. I mean, I've had the exact same bow. I've gotten another bow just like it, and the tunes were still a little bit different. So even though you have two of the exact same bow, exact same strings, exact same arrows, it doesn't always tune the exact same. Most of you guys out there understand that. So once I've done this, I will step outside. And like I said, I will line tune at 100 yards. I can shoot 80 yards pretty easily off my back porch, but for line tuning, I prefer to go as far as I possibly can. So I'll step outside and I got both my bare shaft and my flex shaft hitting right in the middle. So keeping that in mind, we're now going to move on to kind of what the line tuning process is. So
On bare shaft tune, you want some point of impact. Does it matter if your tail of bare shaft is left or right?
Generally speaking, once you RJ clock. Generally speaking, RJ, once you get a bare shaft to be hitting in the exact same spot or close, you shouldn't have a big tail out error. You shouldn't have a big tail out. That should have already been corrected. If you do, there's several issues that can result in that. If it's flying that way, that's one thing. If you're shooting into a bag target that has roll-up clothes and pieces of mattress or whatever inside of it, that can cause the bare shaft to kick. But generally speaking, no. When I want my bare shafts tuned, I want both arrows to be sticking in the target pretty much straight. That's just my personal preference, and that to me gives that level of consistency. If you have a bare shaft that is, the impact point is hitting where you're, like if your flex shaft's here and your bare shaft is like this, that means that there's still some work to do, and you can straighten out the back of that bare shaft and have it still hitting in the same point. Basically, when you have this, that just means that your point's having to do way too much work. So you can bring that in and have those hitting the exact same. So we are now going to pretend like we stepped outside. I take a 24 by 24 inch piece of cardboard, good thick stuff, and I will cut it out exactly 24 by 24, and I will mark 12 inches. I'll mark exactly in the middle, only on one side, not on both. So I'm not creating an X, I'm just creating a line. Then what I'll do is I will take a piece of electrical tape and I will run that piece of electrical tape all the way across that piece of cardboard. And I make sure it's perfectly straight. Then I'll take that down to my target. For instance, my target, for those of you that might have seen any of my videos at home, I have a 30-inch Reinhardt block built on a garden cart. But where that garden cart is sitting, to make it easy for me to shoot 80 off the back porch, it's not level. So I will bring a torpedo level with me, and when I put this piece of cardboard with the electrical tape on it, I will actually put a level on the tape and move the target on the bail and stick it when that line is level, because it does matter. So I will generally start with my up and down. So I'll go down to the target and I will put that piece of cardboard on with the tape going across. I'll make sure it's level. I'll put in my, put in my pins, and that'll be set. I will then step back to 100. Now, let me preface this by saying, for the sake of argument, let's just say that you're somewhat already sighted in for this distance. Don't just step back to 80 or 100 and start flinging arrows, because that could get expensive. I'm sure that the arrow companies would appreciate it, but be sighted in already. So I will step back to 100. And one important thing to note is, if you're already sighted in for 100, give your sight just a quick zip, because you don't want to hit that tape. The tape is for reference only. We do not care. So what we're going to have downrange is we are basically, this is not going to be exactly straight, don't judge. We are going to have a piece of electrical tape going across our target about 24 inches. It's not an X, just this. So we don't want to hit that tape, because we're going to end up using this for the vertical and the horizontal. I'll use mine for an entire year. But if you start hitting the tape, obviously that's going to jack up the tape and it'll fall off. So what I will do is I'll just give my sight a little zip if I'm sighted in, so that my impact is either above or below. You pick. I don't mean like a foot low or a foot high. I just mean like barely missing the tape. So what I'll do is I will then stand for me at 100, and I will, for me, I like to shoot from 6 to 8 arrow ends. That gives me a good chance to, you know, maybe make up for bad shots, but get enough into the rhythm that I'm able to, you know, gauge what's actually happening with my shot. Keep in mind, as we're doing this, we are going to, you're going to have, make sure you have binoculars or a spotting scope, and you are going to want to disqualify any bad shots. So let's say you shoot 3 good shots, and your 4th shot you have a little gitchy-goo wobble. Immediately either spot that arrow or know what number that was, and when you get down to the target, you will immediately pull and disqualify that arrow because it wasn't a good shot. So we will start off, generally speaking, I'll start off with a group that looks, let me get something that's a little easier to see here. I'll start off with something that looks and then usually something like this. Now, I know what the first thing you're going to say is, well, at 100 yards, shit, that'll play. No, it won't. Because what we're doing when we are line tuning like this, I don't care about my group left and right. I can have an arrow over here, and I can have an arrow over here. I don't care. All I care about is this line and where the arrows are. So in our mind, when you're trying to aim at a circle, you're trying to stabilize and aim on both up and down and left and right axis. When you do this, you're taking the left and right out of play. So if you are aiming here and your bubble's good, everything's aiming well, and you kind of start to drift along this line, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as you execute your shot with your bubble good on this line, that's what's going to matter. So shoot about 2 or 3 groups, or ends, I should say, because you're not shooting for group. Shoot 3 or 4 ends until you can get an idea of how your group looks. Now, here comes the VIG right here. At this point, once you have determined that you need to make an adjustment, it's a matter of whether you're going to adjust up or down. I can't tell you which way to start. Pick one. Go up or go down. I can't, it's different. It's different for me every time, so you just have to pick. So I will then make literally an 1/8 of a turn adjustment on my rest. I shoot the AAE Freak Show, so it has a real finite adjustment on it. So I will move my rest maybe an 1/8 of a turn up. Let's just say up. So you saw where that was. So the next time I shoot, I will be maybe here. And I might be like that the next end. Still not good enough. Now, mind you, if I had one that like was just a super bad shot, I recognize that right when I made the shot. So as soon as I go down to the target, I pull that arrow, and that arrow does not affect what I'm actually doing.
Do you need to number your arrows or identify them somehow?
I always suggest you identify your arrows. I use names. Everybody, you can use numbers, names, constellations, ex-girlfriends. I don't really care what you use, but yes, identify them somehow. For me, I use names because my old buddy Cabe Johnson from Spot Hog back in the days kind of introduced me to that name game, and I still have Oprah as my #1 arrow, by the way, Cabe. And so for me, it's just easier to remember. If I go down there and I have an arrow that's not playing right, then it's easier for me when I walk 100 yards to remember that was, a name rather than a number. But yes, I always suggest numbering or naming your arrows. Identify them in one way or another. So if for instance you started off with an end like this and you moved your rest up an eighth of a turn, and then your next end, you're like this, guess what? That's right, it got worse. So you went the wrong direction, which happens all the time. So then what you would do is you would then go back to where you started, so you'd go the eighth of a turn down, and then go another eighth of a turn down. So basically, if it gets worse, you went the wrong direction. It's not rocket science. And so that's what we're going to be looking for there.
Question?
Yes.
Are you aiming and holding on the same spot or moving along the line?
Just anywhere on the line. If you're aiming on the line and you start to kind of drift left and right, either way, as long as your bubble is level and you're just kind of floating a little bit along the line, just go ahead and find to execute. You don't have to aim at the same spot every time. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. So you can aim from left to right, wherever you want. It's whatever. So if we made that eighth of an inch, or that eighth of a turn adjustment on the rest, and it didn't help, then we're going to go back off that eighth of a turn, and we're going to go an eighth of a turn the other direction. So assuming we had a certain group the first time, the next time, so let's say we started with something like this at 100 yards. Then let's say I decided to go an eighth of a turn up. So I go an eighth of a turn up, and then I end up with this. That's worse. So then I'm going to need to go back down. So then I go back down to where I started, and I go another eighth of a turn. And literally, don't go a full turn. This is super micro tuning. So you are literally, if you're not shooting a micro adjustable arrow rest, you need to get one. It's just the way it is. And so this was where we started. We went an eighth of a turn up. It got worse. So we come back to this, and then we go an eighth of a turn down. So generally speaking, it'll usually take me about 3, sometimes 4 adjustments before I get where I need to go. And where are we looking to go? And I know some of you are probably going to laugh, but this is totally the way it is. You can you can message Jesse Broadwater, Chuck Cooley, Little Sandlot, Jesse Clayton has done this before, and you will be amazed what you can end up getting this tune to do. So what we're looking for is, and I'm not even kidding, we are looking
If you're tuning for indoors, do you change the distances at all?
I don't line tune for indoors. I do something else indoors. When it comes indoor season, I will actually show you what I do for indoors. But I don't line tune per se for indoors because it's only 20 yards and you're shooting a 700 grain arrow. But this right here, that's what we're looking for. I literally want to be able to walk up and take an arrow, and I want to be able to place an arrow along all of those arrows. And this is achievable. Don't think it's not. Don't think that this is only a Jesse Broadwater thing or a Greg Poole thing. This is achievable. Jesse Clayton, how old was Jesse when he did that, babe? Like 14 or 15?
Yeah.
He was super young, and at 80 yards, he was doing this at 14, 15 years old. So you can do this. It's just a matter of knowing when to eliminate not good quality shots, and tuning, knowing that the left and right doesn't matter. You're only focusing your mind on the up and down part, and you'll be surprised how well you can do. But this is what we're looking for. So, like I said, start up, start down, start whichever way you flip a coin. Doesn't really matter. If you're me, I usually say, well, I should probably go up, and I'll automatically go down because I usually pick wrong the first time. It's just my luck. But this right here is what we're looking for a line tune. So let's assume that you started up. Now I won't move my sight for any of this. If I'm sighted in on this line, I'll give it a zip and I won't move it again unless I was here and I made an adjustment of my rest to tune and the next couple shots hit the tape. Then I will give my sight another little zip because I don't want to hit the tape. So once we get to that point where your up and down is on the line and you can literally place an arrow on it, your up and down will be good. You can then, you don't need to measure your knock height. You're not going to do any of that yet. Once I get done explaining the other way, we're going to come back to a bear shaft and then it's going to all come together for you there. So the next thing I'll do is I will take the piece of cardboard off now that I've established my left and right, or excuse me, my up and down. All my arrows are on the line. I'll pull off the cardboard and I'll rotate it so that the tape goes straight up and down, and I'll have my torpedo level and I'll actually put my level on that tape to make sure that it goes up and down. So now I have an up and down line using the same piece of tape. So once again, if you are perfect on your left and right, just give your windage, just a zip, just to make sure you're not hitting the tape. Now, this is the one that I get the most questions on because everybody usually goes, well, my center shot's good. This will screw up my center shot. No, it won't. Let me tell you something. When I've got done with this process the last 10 years, I cannot remember a single time that my center shot wasn't perfect. Now I can remember some times I didn't have my sight leveled properly and that screwed me. But as far as my bow goes, when I've gotten done with this process, I've never had my center shot be off. So this is now the up and down. We're going to move our sight, make sure we're not hitting the tape, and we're going to basically do the exact same thing. We're not going to aim for just the middle. We're going to start wherever we want, and we're literally going to go through the exact same process. So if this is where we start, all I'm going to do is go, okay, well, I got to pick one. I got to either go left or go right. I'll take my freak show and I'll give it an eighth of a turn in or out. Pick one. I can't overstate that enough. I can't tell you which direction to go first because there isn't one. It just depends. So here, let's say that I go an eighth of a turn in on the arrow rest. What I'm looking for, just like up and down, is I'm looking for this. And I will make adjustments. So now that I look at it, this one here is a little off. So what I'm looking for is this. And so I will make adjustments with my rest, left or right, an eighth of a turn at a time until I accomplish this. And I can take an arrow and I can put an arrow this way going up all of the arrows that I just shot. Once again, keep in mind, if you shoot these 5 arrows and you're like, I got 2 more arrows in my quiver, and you make a bad shot and it's out here, and you make another bad shot and it's over here, first thing you do as soon as you walk up to the target is you don't justify it. Because as soon as you made the shot, you're like, that shot was shitty. You will immediately know either what name it was or where the arrow was, and when you walk up to the target, you immediately pull those arrows because they are not representative of what you're trying to do. If you make a poor shot, just call it out, pull it out, no big deal, move on. Here in a few weeks, I am going to get into another Facebook Live on knock tuning. Knock tuning is something that you hear people talk about a lot, but I don't see a lot of content out there about how to properly knock tune. Not just knock tune through paper. You can knock tune through paper at 7 yards all you want. I'm talking about knock tuning at distance. Of course, now that I said that, there'll probably be 5 videos out by the end of the week about knock tuning at distance.
Right.
But
Brian Severn says hi.
Who does?
Brian Severn.
What's up, Brian? And for everybody watching, make sure you go over to the Bo Junkie Media page, like and share the Cibola Creek Ranch Aoudad Hunt. $5,500, all inclusive, food, drink. Depending on who wins, Brian Severn has offered to literally give them a rub down of their feet, with or without lotion, depending on, you know, who the person is. But go over there, like and share the giveaway on Bo Junkie. A $5,500 all-inclusive Aoudad hunt at Cibola Creek Ranch. Cibola is where I got my bison last year and where I made the heart shot at a hundo on the management Scimitar Oryx. So it is an amazing facility down there. I can't do it justice trying to describe it with words, but get over there, like and share that Bo Junkie giveaway. So once we get to this point right here, we've already done our up and down, we've already done our left and right. So now we're basically line tuned. So the next thing we're going to do is on this target, we're going to basically re-sight in, because more than likely, I've never done this and been sighted in when I was done, because that would be an amount of luck I don't have. So what you'll do is you'll then put up a regular dot at whatever distance you're comfortable in. It doesn't have to be 100. If you've line tuned at 80 or you've line tuned at 100, you can sight back in wherever you want. Go to 50, 40, I don't really care. But you'll basically put up a regular dot, and now you will actually re-sight in. It's not going to be a whole bunch of clicks. You're not going to be out there for an hour trying to sight in. You're just going to re-sight in the bow until you're now hitting in the middle. What's up?
I think they were just talking about, Paul Hatch said the shot that broke the internet and but hurt all the trad guys.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. A heart shot at a hundo. That was fun.
RJ Clark wants to know why this is better than any other type of tuning, when he told me it helped reinforce the value compared to other types of tuning.
I'm not saying that this is better. I am just saying that it's something that I've been using and I've turned several of my friends onto, and they've had fantastic results with it. It's pretty quick. It is a way of tuning that is both visually reinforcement. That's not right. Visually reinforcing, and it also for per bow is repeatable, and that's about what I'm ready to get to right now. So I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying it works for me, and lots of guys that I've turned on to it have had amazing results with it. In my opinion, this will probably be the most forgiving tune you've ever ran. Period. End of story. For me and the people that I've turned on to this is the most forgiving tune you'll ever have. And so I'm not saying it's better. I'm saying it's quick, it's easy, it's repeatable, and RJ, I'm about ready to reveal the VIG right here. So once you're sighted back in, your line tune up, your line tune down, your line tune left and right, you've re-sighted in. Now you're going to step back to where you originally were when you shot your bear shaft. So here's our use a Vegas, use a 5-spot, I use whatever the hell I have with me. It doesn't really matter what you use. But
RJ says stop being modest.
This right here might be why some people think that this is the best way to tune. For this reason right here. So once you've line tuned up and down, left and right, and you've re-sighted in, go back to the original distance that you shot your bear shaft from when we started. Whether it's 20, whether it's 25, doesn't matter. Shoot a fletched shaft. And your fletched should go in the middle-ish, should go extra middle, and then shoot your bear shaft again. And guess what? It's not going to be in the middle anymore. For me, Bathwater, Chuck Cooley, a lot of the guys that I've turned on to this what you're going to find is your bear shaft is probably going to be in that area right there. Unless you're a lefty, no southpaws be throwing salt on my game here. If you're a lefty, it's going to be the opposite. But the point is starting off with the bear shaft in the middle is a reference. But this is your tune reference, meaning you've now line tuned up and down and left and right, and you've resighted in. You shot a fletched arrow in the middle, and you reshot your bear shaft again, but it's not going to be in the middle. For me, it's about 1 inch to 1.25 inches low right. About 4:30, sometimes 5 o'clock, it just depends. This one here is about 4. But that's where my bear shaft's going to go. Not that Jesse Broadwater needs more messages in his inbox, but ask Jesse. Same kind of a thing. And so, why is this reference important? Because if you're at an event and if you don't think your bow is shooting, like I'll take a picture when I'm all done. I'll take a picture on my phone of where my bear shaft went after I line tuned. And if I don't think my bow is hitting the way it needs to be, or if I don't think my bow is shooting the way it needs to be, at a tournament, I will grab my bear shaft and I will shoot it at whatever prescribed distance I got this reference mark when I was done line tuning. We're just going to say, for argument's sake, it's 20 yards. I'll step back to 20 yards and shoot. And if my bear shaft goes in the middle, or if my bear shaft goes anywhere else but right down here, guess what? Your tune has changed. And if your tune's changed, then guess what? That's probably why you're not hitting and scoring the way that you want. So what line tuning, the way I've described it today, what it does is it allows you to verify that tune that quick. So if I'm at an event and I shoot and my bear shaft goes right here where it's supposed to be, I just know I suck. If I shoot and my bear shaft goes in the middle, I know something's changed. We're not going to get into the speculation today of what changed. Strings, cables, blade, D-loop. It could be a plethora of reasons. But this line tuning method, once I'm all said and done, allows me to verify that my tune is still intact at any point. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And yes, I do this exact same thing with my hunting bow.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, what would be a good micro-tunable drop-away rest for hunting? Fred Gross.
Micro-adjustable arrow rest for hunting, for me right now, would probably be the Pro Drop. It depends whether if you like a cable-driven or a limb-driven. The Pro Drop's going to be the best one out there. It has a tolerance fit, axle, double bearings, fully micro-adjustable, incredibly... It's incredibly durable. That rest was actually designed with the help of this hunter guy. He's a hunter. He's had some success in the past. Some guy here in Arizona named Randy Omer or something like that. He does okay. Yeah. So that's the rest Randy shoots, and he helped design it. That rest is, if that's the kind of rest you're into, it is. And you can change it from a limb-driven to a cable in a heartbeat. It comes with the spring, super easy to do. If you're more of a fan of the AAE DOA, which I am, which works off of an internal sear, the DOA is not micro-adjustable, but all I'll tell you for that is stay tuned until about middle of November, and got something coming for you. It's going to be sick. What's up?
Where is your arrow shaft in reference to your burger hole for your X10s?
It depends on the bow. Generally speaking, my philosophy has always been I don't give a shit. But the geometry of these bows, I shoot Hoyts right now, and some of their handles have kind of been moving. So, like on the Vantage Elite Plus, I didn't care. I just ran it low, under the hole, didn't care. On the podiums, because of the handle change and the geometry, we ran the arrow above the burger hole, like way above the burger hole. And so right now with the Prevails, I've ran it up, I've ran it down, I don't see any difference whatsoever. And where that is has zero to do with tunability. It does have to do with how the bow holds. On the podium, it did help with a little bit of forgiveness, but you can tune it up, you can tune it down. Most of the other bows on the market you can put it anywhere you want, but keep in mind that depending on what your bow's geometry is, where your D-loop in relation to the center of the whole system will affect how the bow holds. If you get the loop higher, it's going to help you stay up in the dot a little bit.
Brian Severi wants to know, can this be a tool used for newbies, or is this more geared to the better shooter to fine tune?
Brian just asked if this is something for newbies or if this is something that is more of your upper level. Brian, I would say that it is for everybody as long as the beginner has someone there to kind of help them along the way. Not necessarily executing with the shots, but beginners generally have a process to overshoot. Shoot too many arrows, not be able to identify bad shots, and you will chase your tail for a while on this process if you're not able to identify bad shots. So like for a guy like you who's all by himself, you're fine. For a really new archer, I would recommend having someone available to you to help you reinforce the process, help you reinforce what's happening. When you do shoot a good group, give you that, yep, that's what you're looking for, or I think we can do better. I mean, part of this process obviously is being able to hold the bow. If you're doing this whole jobby, you need to stabilize your bow and be able to execute first. If you're all over the place or you're trying to do this in 30-mile-an-hour winds, you're pissing up a rope. It's not going to work. So this process is for everybody, Brian. The only caveat to that is it does involve bear shaft tuning. And as we know, bear shaft tuning is not necessarily a for everybody kind of process because if you've bear shaft tuned, you realize that it doesn't take much of a movement of a bear shaft to make it go sideways. Even if I make a suspect shot, my bear shaft goes somewhere that it totally should not. So I'll pull that arrow and make a good shot and it goes where it should. So I would say both. For any beginning archers that might be watching this, try to find somebody around you that can kind of help you get through the process so it's not so frustrating.
Stuart Bradley, not sure if this was covered initially as I missed the start. Why does the bear shaft end up low right? Is it not preferable for the bear shaft to be hitting dead on with the fletched shaft at 20 yards?
Who was that again?
Stuart Bradley.
Stuart. So I start off with the bear shaft in the middle. And a lot of archers will put the bear shaft in the middle and just leave it there. The problem with that is from bow to bow, person to person, that's not always going to be the most forgiving or the most accurate tune, even though you would think the bear shaft in the middle is going to. But once you step out and actually do the line tuning process and make these micro nano adjustments, it may end up in the middle. I've never seen it. It's never ended up staying in the middle for me. So for me and the people that I've turned on to it that are right-handed, most of us end up with a low right bear shaft. So I know what you're going to ask next. Why not just start off with the low right? Because I don't always know how far low right it's going to be. So for me, my control, if you've watched Mythbusters, you know exactly what that means. My control,
Science.
It's science. Science also says my brain's bigger. But my control is the bear shaft hitting in the middle with my fletch shaft. That tells me, okay, clean slate. I'm going to step outside and I'm going to go through this process with a clean slate. And whatever ends up happening when I'm done, happens when I'm done. I'll tell you something right now. If my bear shaft was in the middle and I got done line tuning and it was perfect and my bear shaft was over here, I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care. Scoreboard. All I care about is downrange. That's it. And if all those arrows are on the line this way, and all those arrows are on the line this way, scoreboard, I don't care. So once again, I prefer this method. I discovered it kind of by accident. I don't think it's like, this is not like some patentable, super genius. It's just what I stumbled onto. Like I said, I was trying to get a market rating at 100 yards. Couldn't make a good shot on the dot to save my life. Shot for the top of the cardboard and had a group about like this. And I was like, man, that doesn't seem right. I'm holding better than that. And I just, for shits and giggles, I just moved my arrow rest. And it went like this. Like I missed the bail. And I was like, oh. I moved it back down, went the other way. And luckily that time, first or second adjustment, I shot every arrow low of the top of the cardboard, but every arrow was like this. And I was like, holy oh, okay, there might be something to this. I immediately did it for left and right, and ever since, that's what I've been doing. But I'm not saying that this is the very best tuning method on the face of the earth. What I'm saying is it's proven results for me and the people that I've told about it, and it's verifiable, which with a lot of other tuning methods, once you go through it, how do you verify that you still have that tune? If you've traveled, like for me, when I travel, when I go to Yankton and I fly, or Mechanicsburg, or anywhere I fly to, guess what the first thing I do when I get there is? I get warmed up, step to 20 yards, well I do 25, and I shoot a bare shaft. Why? Because I want to make sure that I still have my tune before I even start to shoot. Because if I don't, then I got to retune to put my bare shaft back where it needs to be. Without knowing why it changed, I mean, who knows? What's up?
How does this compare to lockback tuning, French tuning, or paper tuning?
Who asked that?
Paul Hatch and Eduardo Telesanto.
Paul and Eduardo. Paper tuning is macro, big macro tuning. It's not super finite. It's just kind of a basic tune. Going from paper tuning to bare shaft tuning is going from macro, which is big, to micro, which is smaller. This is more of a super tune, an ultra finite amount of tuning, because this is actually a finer tuning than a bare shaft tuning. As far as the walk back and the French tunes, you can do those if you want. My center shot has never been off one time when I've done this. I've screwed up my sight, leveling my sight, and I've had issues with that. But my center shot on my bow has never been wrong when I've done this process. And so I can do this process quick. I can literally line tune my bow, and as long as the conditions are right. If there's any wind, you gotta be patient. But in literally half hour, 45 minutes, I can have my bow bare shaft tuned, line tuned, re-sighted in, and reshoot my marker, my reference bare shaft. So, yes.
Adam Belby wants to know if this video is going to be available on the YouTube channel.
Yes, sir, Adam. Once we're done here, I will save this, and I will be uploading this to my YouTube channel. This tuning method is, it's not to compete with the walk back and the French tunes. I've done those. I just don't like them. I'm just going to be honest with you. I think that there's more finite ways to do it, and this is the way that I stumbled onto, and it works incredibly well. And like I said, one of the things that I've really enjoyed about it is hands down the most forgiving tune I've ever ran. Because I'm not Dave Cousins or Jesse Broadwater or any of those guys, so I make bad shots, and for me, this is a super forgiving tune. And once I verify where my bare shaft is, I know where that needs to be. Now, with that being said, I have two prevails, and the bare shafts vary on those by about 1/4 of an inch. Kind of low rightish, but they're not in the same hole. So for that reason, I can't take my orange prevail, set it up, line tune it, and then go, oh, that's good for the buckskin one. We'll just set it right there. It would be close, but it's not the level of tune and not the level of work that I'm going to put into the bow, because I want the bows to be everything that they can be. So I will line tune each bow outside separately. And I believe, if memory serves, and I am old, the buckskin bow was about the same distance, but it was a little bit more towards the 5 o'clock. I think about 1/4 of an inch. So my orange one was at about 4:30, and the buckskin one was more around the 5 o'clock. So they're not always going to be the same. You know, even I can't make the cam lean, and every variable in the bow is not going to be the exact same, but there was a little bit of variance there. What does she got here?
If you don't have 80 to 100 yards, will it work at shorter distances, 60, 50, or 40?
Who asked that?
Chris Nixon.
Chris, yes you can, but the farther you can do it, the more effective it will be. Quick example for that, I got a little buddy here in town named Travis Shinneman. Yes, Travis, I can say your last name right. I just usually choose not to. But Travis, there was horrible weather here. Like, it was blowing like you couldn't believe. So he drove down to the Arizona Archery Club in Phoenix and line tuned his bow indoors at I think 40 or 45 yards. It was all he could do. There was too much wind here. When he went to shoot the next event, he noticed that it was okay, but as he started stepping out in distance, he did notice some degradation in his group size. Ended up coming out to my house about a week later. We stepped out. He stepped out on the back porch because he's more comfortable shooting at 80 than 100. Stepped out on my back porch at 80, and sure enough, it was not where it needed to be. He ended up making the adjustment, went outdoor nationals in Yankton, and shot some of his best scores that he's shot. So you can do it, but it's just not going to be as effective.
Paul Hatch again asks, after doing all this, have you had to change the sight take or just slightly move the indicator on the sight?
I'll usually, indicator only, Paul. This doesn't change your speed. I'm not changing tiller. I'm not doing any of that. And because I've already bare shaft tuned it, the amount that I'm moving it is so finite that I've never had a tape variation there at all. But as a note, Paul, that is a good question. I usually don't, I'll use like Archer's Mark, or I'll write down my marks until I'm done with this process. Then I will actually stick a tape on my bow. Some of them have been the same, but just for that reason, I'll usually go through all this process with manual marks before I actually take the time to adhere something to the sight itself.
There's two parts to this one because they're from two different people about broadheads.
Okay.
RJ Clark asks, have you ever tried this with broadheads? And then Christopher Teddy, after line tuning with field points, do you find you have to make any adjustments for broadheads? Okay,
RJ and Chris. Yes, I do this with broadheads, which even makes it more important not to shoot at the same spot. But yes, I do. I will go through this process with field points first, still at 100 yards, and I will go through this exact process. Then basically what I will do is, once I have line tuned the bow with field points, is as a verification method, I will screw on a broadhead. For a fixed blade, I know this is going to come up, what broadhead? For a fixed blade broadhead, I'm a huge fan of the 4-blade Wacom. That thing flies incredibly well. This last year, as far as a hybrid goes, I shot the Gravediggers. I shot the one that has the fixed blades and the expandables. That's what I killed. That's what I did the heart shot at a hundo with, and the Bison. And even though, those things are deadly. But what I will do once I've line tuned is I will take a broadhead. I will unscrew a field. This is a cold bore test, by the way. This is before I will put them all on the spinner. I'll unscrew a field point, screw on a broadhead. One of the cool things about the Gravedigger is that it has a little set screw that you can tighten up, and then the expandable blades do not open. Works great. I was a little shocked, I'm not going to lie. It worked way better than I was expecting. And I'll step out on my back porch at 80, and I will shoot a field point, and then I'll take the arrow that I put the broadhead on. And I actually, if you look back about a year in my posts, I did that, and shaved a vein off and was a little bit pissed. But I will then shoot a broadhead at 80, and I'll just shoot at the hit miss feed a target. I think it's like 3.5, 4 inches. And I will see where that broadhead goes. Generally speaking, it will always go in the dot, but 99 out of 100 times for me, the broadhead goes exactly where just a little bit low right of my field point at distance. So at that point, what I'll do is, and with field points, with broadheads, I'll just set up 3 because I don't need 6 practice broadheads. So I'll set up 3, and then basically what I'll do is I'll bust out my cardboard with the line on it, and I will shoot 3 broadheads at a time just to verify my line tune, and I've never had to make an adjustment above and beyond what I already did.
Can this be used with any bow? Is it better with some bows versus other bows?
I've done it with the Matthews Apex 8. I've done it with the PSC Dominator. I've done it with the Hoyt Contender, the Hoyt Vantage Elite, the Hoyt Podium.
The Victory 39.
I haven't shot an Elite, and I've done it with the Hoyt Prevail. You can do this with any bow. Keeping in mind, if you're shooting a cam with, if you're shooting a bow with a binary like the Elites, accomplishing your bare shaft tune first will be a little bit different than on some of the other bows because you don't have yokes. So whether you try to shim the cams over, I don't think there's a lot of room there for that, or if you just have to bare shaft tune with your rest, it's whatever. You can get a bare shaft tune with an Elite. You just don't tune yokes. That's it. So once you get your bare shaft tune and in the middle, and then you step out to line tune, then you're just micro tuning your rest anyway. So getting your bare shaft tune is going to really be where the variance is. If you have a Hoyt, you can change spacers, you can turn yokes. If you have a new Matthews, they have the top hat system, in which Jesse Broadwater put out a great video on how good the top hat system works. Getting the bare shaft tune, that's what's going to vary from bow to bow. Just to be honest with you, that's what's going to vary. Once you get your bare shaft tune, line tuning is just some micro tuning on your arrow rest.
That's it. So far, I read you all the questions.
All right, so that's basically the long and short of it. I do apologize for this taking like a year. I appreciate some of you guys running me down at tournaments to kind of get the quick overview of it. But that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not, I'm not a scientist. I don't even play one on the radio. So this is just something, once again, that I stumbled onto. It's worked phenomenal for me. I'm not claiming it's better than every other tuning method. I'm just saying it works amazingly well. And you can verify it at an event. Whereas with a lot of those other methods, you can't just pull out and make one shot with a bare shaft and verify that your tune is still intact. You have to go through the whole process again. So this is the reason that I do this, and it's worked incredibly well. Any other questions?
I'm gonna have to give it a minute.
I know there's about a 10-second delay, so I appreciate all of you tuning in, by the way. Thank you for liking and sharing this. We will be doing more videos as the winter goes along. Oh, indoors. Someone asked if I do indoor line tuning. No, I do not do indoor line tuning. This is going to sound weird, but what I do is I will bare shaft tune indoors for, let me erase this so someone doesn't get confused. So this is our indoor spot. This is our X. So indoors with big fatties, I want the bare shaft, the flet shaft to hit in the middle, and the bare shaft to hit in the middle. Both, right at dead center in the middle of the X. And then what I'll do is, obviously aiming indoors is key. Back in the day, Terry Ragsdale won with a high left tear like this. Different cam system, but you get the point. So what I will do is I'll tune directly for the middle, and then I will start shooting rounds. And when I'm done with the rounds, I will actually take the target and turn it over backwards, and I'll look on the back and I'll see what the group looks like from the back of the target. And if my sight picture was just a little bit left and right, and when I flip over the target, that's not what the holes look like, then I'll make an adjustment. For instance, let's say I come out and I have I'm not a 30x everyday guy, so I'm not gonna bullshit anybody here. That's not me. I've done it. I don't do it all the time. It is what it is. But if I come out, I'm no Chris Perkins, that's for damn sure. But if I come out and I have a smoker of a round and I shoot a 28, 29x and I flip that target over and I can see that my holes on the back were up and down, I will make a little adjustment on my rest. Once again, don't ask me which way. It's who knows. I will generally, indoors, because I know my bear shaft's in the middle, I will generally go down with my arrow rest, assuming that the bear shaft might be going a little bit low. But that's how I do it indoors. When I have a good round, turn the target around, and you'll see kind of what the holes look like on the back, kind of what the pattern looks like. And if the pattern looks left and right, and I was aiming good, I'll make a little rest adjustment left or right. If the holes are up and down, dude, I've shot 29 X's and still made an adjustment, because I would go from inside out X's to the top to the bottom of the Super X. And if that's not what my sight's doing, then I will make a little adjustment on my sight, on my rest. I'll shoot another round, and then that will, generally speaking, it'll close up what the group looks like when I turn the target over backwards.
No more questions?
All right. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I appreciate you guys tuning in. My wife Kathy here was behind the camera feeding me all of your guys' questions. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Be sure to go over to Bow Junkie Media and share that contest. $5,500 Aoudad hunt at Cibola Creek Ranch. All of it's paid: food, lodging, drinks, the foot massage from Brian Severn. It's all included. All you have to do is get there. You got to buy your license, and then you'll have to pay for processing of the meat. Other than that, that's it. So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in.
See you later.
If there's any other videos you want to see me do, I'll be doing more over the winter, but just shoot me messages and whatever, and we'll get at it. And as usual, everybody, love, peace, and chicken grease.
All right.
We're out.